Our second caller is George. George, do we have you on the line?
Hello?
Hey,
Good.
George.
Hey.
Hi, George.
George.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good. So, George was asking, what are some questions that a person can ask to get a feel on a first date or to take the conversation deeper on a first date? You want to tell us a little more about that, George?
Yeah, actually, I was on a call. I called in a couple months ago and was talking about, wanting to take my first date to a more meaningful place versus just kind of, BSing and small talk. And I definitely had that opportunity over the last month to do so. Some of them were really successful. Others, maybe my line of questioning was too intense or my shares were too much because people kind of like shut down. Maybe they were something they weren't used to. So it's a work in progress, but it's definitely something that I'm orienting to, that I'd like. And I like what you mentioned about doing coffee and sort of a meet and greet in that type of environment where you can get to know someone a little bit better. But I would love to hear from you guys, from you girls, sort of questions that create a space where you've had good results with of getting people to kind of open up and share themselves in a way that maybe they weren't willing to do so. I've definitely done it myself. Like, I've shared things about me that have moved the conversation to a more intimate place. But I know that sometimes there are questions you can ask that prompt people. And just looking to see if there's any certain specific questions or areas that you thought really opened up a unique space for you on first or second date.
Okay.
Great, yeah. Well, for me, actually, I had a date recently where I kind of felt like right at the beginning that this was probably not somebody that I was interested in, but I didn't want to just give up. I didn't want to just walk out. It was something I'd done and I knew that I could do, and I wanted to challenge myself and get something out of it. So I asked, actually, Rachel, what does she do in this situation? And what I discovered for myself is... So she suggested asking him to teach me something, tell me about yourself, what can I learn about you? And the question that I ended up asking also was, what do you like about yourself? Because I was sitting in the date thinking, I don't like this guy, but I don't know him, and so it revealed a lot about him, the way that he answered the question, and it didn't end up being anything that I wanted to pursue, but it did help me get to know him, what kind of conversationalist he was, what he thought about himself, the way that he was able to speak about what he's good at and what he likes and what he doesn't like. So that was like a really critical one for me, because it helped me assess, just really go for the thing, kind of like not saying I don't like you, what do you like about yourself, kind of like, I don't know, just opened up this really cool space for me.
That reminds me of something in our networking training. It's actually an exercise we do as our own self-assessment. 3 things, or pick your other number, 3 things that are cool about me. But then as we dig into it, it's like there really are at least 3 cool things about everybody. Yeah. Even this guy you didn't like on Face, there was more to discover. So my first answer to you, George, is assume that there is something there. And it sounds like you're doing that. You're in this on a tactical level, but not hopeless. So that's part 1 for me, is keep the faith that everybody has something cool about them. That's meant to be discovered. And I don't know how I would phrase it on a first date. As you were talking, I thought maybe it's so what do I need to know about you? Or what's cool about you?
and George, I just really want to ask you, when you're out with someone, what do you really want to know about them? Because I find that sometimes if I'm just sort of following a formula, what do you do? What do you do for fun? What's your work?
Where are you from?
It's not actually really what I want to know. And I think part of it is just being in touch with yourself. What are some things that you like, maybe some things that you would want to know, but you wouldn't typically ask on a first date?
Oh, yeah.
You think of anything?
Yeah, I mean, I want to know, what I'm trying to gauge is this somebody that I can, that we can be vulnerable with each other, we can be open and honest with each other and willing to go to that space, and that we'll have, I'm really attracted to women, I'm learning, I'm really attracted to women where we can be playful in conversation. And it's not all fun and games, it's not just jokes at each other, but it's like a give and take in the conversation. There's sarcasm, there's wit, there's caring, and I want to know if you're a partner for that. And I try to get away from the questions of like, what do you do? I mean, I obviously find out about that, and that kind of comes up, but I try not to ask that directly because, and even if someone asks me what I do, I have like a elevator pitch of what I do, and it's like taking away from me and my spontaneity in the moment. So I'm focusing more on the questions that will get us to be more engaged and like present as we're in that conversation in that coffee shop or that bar or wherever it is for that hour or 2 hours. And then like seeing, do I see something here that makes me think that in the future we'll be able to share a cool space again?
So George, I know that you've done some work here. So I want to remind you about the next thing I'm afraid to say is. So for those of our listeners that don't know what this is an opportunity to just be with somebody, depending on the level of your relationship, what you're comfortable with, and just say, the next thing I'm afraid to say is, I really like you, or, I'm afraid that this isn't working out, or, whatever the context is. But so if you're looking for someone that's going to be vulnerable with you, then I think this is a way for you to be vulnerable and offer, invite them into that space and see if they're willing to go there with you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that, the second you say that, I'm just kind of like, oh, no, I don't want, that's the question I hate. And that's the one that's going to get them to probably have the most impact.
Yeah, and another thing I'm getting, George, is I'm relating to you because you're talking about you want somebody who will be vulnerable and open with you. I've noticed that I want that, and then I notice myself being closed and not vulnerable and not particularly open on first dates because it's my it's my reaction to feeling scared, and I feel scared when I meet someone for the first time.
Right.
One thing that I've been working on is like these things that something comes up, they ask a question, he asks a question, and I think I don't know if I'm ready to share the answer to that, and then sometimes I decide to share it anyway, even though I don't know if it's appropriate yet in the the relationship, if it's too soon to share that personal detail, or whether it's how it's going to make me look, or I'm making an effort to be more open and vulnerable and truthful in the hopes of influencing the men that I date to be that way with me.
Yeah.
What are you hearing, George?
Yeah, I agree, and that's something that I've been, date by date, I've been working on sharing more openly. And actually, I have a date tonight with this woman I met over the weekend, and I chatted with her very briefly, but she seemed very interesting, and I was like, I'd love to like connect outside of this environment. And I called her the next night, and we just chatted for an hour, and I was talking with her about a growth program I was doing. I had talked to her for a grand total of 10 minutes before that. And she was really intrigued. And I know that tonight when we meet up that I'm going to be sharing very openly about that. So that's definitely something that I'm bringing to the table. And I definitely understand that if I want someone to be, to be open with me, then yeah, I need to be open with them. And so that's the approach I'm going into and seeing how it, and yeah, maybe, by doing that I scare somebody away. But that's okay because there's probably a lot of other people that won't be scared away.
Well, I don't know. So I'm just wondering, how often do you actually scare someone away? Like, how often do they actually get up and leave or run away or, like, delete your number or whatever? Like, I'm just wondering, how often do you actually scare them away? Are you going for that? Are you going to be as vulnerable and open as you want to be, or are you still trying to manage them liking you? And there's, I imagine that there's more to do and more places to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there yet. Every date I'm taking it. I'm trying to take it another level. Every new first date. So it's been a gradual process for me over the last, let's say, couple months. But there's definitely I'm not at the top of the mountain. I'm not even sure it is a mountain. I can just kind of keep going up and going up. Still managing, do they like me? I want them to like me, to have that affirmation. So I'm definitely not going to the point where I'm risking it, and I think they're going to reject me. There's definitely more space to play there. I think that's where that'll be interesting to see, how far I'm willing to go with that.
That's
Yeah.
great, George. And I would just say I think the key is not to go in with a list of predetermined questions. I mean, we could probably each tell you some great conversation starters, or you could buy a book on, 120 questions or something like that. But I find that the excitement and the play happens in a date when I'm willing to say, like, wait, I'm curious about that. Go back. Or, okay, I asked you to tell me about work, but I'm totally losing you. Like, what do you love about it? Or where I just use sort of the grounded leadership skills, if you've heard us talk about those, of kind of asking an open-ended question and then just sort of sitting with my judgments and my reactions and my sense of curiosity about what's coming up, and just feeling totally entitled to say, like, wait, I think you're just being full of crap. Or, the last date I went on, the person kept prefacing things by saying, I don't want to offend you, but I was like, please offend me. And just, inviting him to keep going. Or when he asked a question about me and religion, I said, you know what, I would love to talk about that, but I just have no idea what kind of set of vocabulary to use with you. Would you tell me a little bit about your experience, that's leading you to ask the question? And I don't know if I've scared men away with this. They haven't blocked me in a way that's visible to me. But I just carry that level of entitlement in the conversations to where it's like, I'm going to understand what they're saying. I'm not going to let bullshit pass where they're saying something that is a pat answer and it doesn't resonate with me at all. Because one of my values is I want to be with somebody who's going to engage deeply and is moved by things in their world, who does things that they enjoy and love, and they orient to that versus being a dramatic, a man drama queen and a victim of their circumstances. So if I can't get some sense of that from a conversation in the playful way I go about it, I know it's not going to work. But it doesn't come out of, I know how to write an interview. I know how to do initial coaching sessions, where you cover all the bases, but I don't do that on dates. I have done it on dates with man questionnaires as an assignment, but it gets really interesting when you just are in touch. This didn't sit right with me. I think it's bullshit. Oh my gosh, their eyes lit up with that. Tell me more. So I argue against the interview and more the gut check.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think that's something that's an ongoing data source over the course of the date.
It's the ongoing data source.
Yeah.
Anything a person you're on a date with says to you is sort of suspect because it's just the report over coffee or over dinner. You've got to assume that you're going to be getting to know this person over the course of, if all goes well, a lifetime of activities together in which their character and their demeanor will be proved out. So it's kind of like your word versus their gut. Wait, your gut versus their word. The other way around. That's all you have is their report on themselves, and all you have is just your feeling in the moment of like, this is good, this is not. This sits right, it doesn't. It feels good, or doesn't. I want more, or I want to run the hell away.
and even that, I'm just, I'm thinking about, Kate saying, I don't know if I've been blocked completely. Like, I wouldn't say I've been blocked completely, but I have had way more outright rejection to my face since I've been doing it this way than I ever have before. Before I maybe got like a fade away, and now, I don't get someone leaving in the middle of a date, but I do get people saying, this is just not going to work. And part of it is for me being okay with that, being okay with like, I'm okay, I will reject more people. I will be rejected by more people. I will feel more. I'll feel angry. I'll feel hurt. I'll feel more joy. And also just there's a way of delighting in it. Even, Monica has talked to me right after I have rejected or been rejected, and I'm feeling the pain of it. And there's a way that I am just, I'm letting the whole experience really flow through me and fully experience the hurt and the anger and the joy of it, and then using it to inform me going forward in my other dates. I like it a lot better than avoiding it.
I like that.
Cool.
I think that's what I'm going towards.
I mean, like you said, you're not at the top of the mountain. I don't think there is a top of the mountain. I mean, I think that this is always, always something that we're doing more of, doing differently, always, always. So it's cool that you're on the journey and that you've already noticed that this is someplace that you want to be going. So I like that you've been working on it.